going to be spectacular. So I need you to jump over the obstacles. I need you to go around the pitfalls.
Yes, sir.
And I need you to push through the adversity. Because that dormant volcano of success that's living inside of you is just waiting for you to grant permission for it to erupt.
Yes, sir. Lego. Hope y'all motivated. Hope y'all boosted up. You know what I'm saying? Ready to get it. Ready to start it. Whatever it is that you were starting. All right. So we evaluating today. Let's see. Evaluating use of technology. That's just as vague as I can be real quick. All right. That's an hour. Ooh, we don't need no hour. Ooh, let's see.
Living with opioid addiction can be a struggle.
This is just to get us started.
Supplicate with counseling is for adults with moderate to severe.
Hello everyone and welcome to our report.
Oh, this is school report. Look at that. We are the group 3B. Okay, alternative delivery system, legal and ethical use of technology, and educational technology.
Evaluating educational technology.
Sound like y'all got an accent too, and y'all ain't said nothing yet. Come on here.
And the ease of use.
What are we doing? We ain't doing nothing. Y'all failed this project. I just gave them an F on their project. Y'all about to get one too, cause ain't no talking. Don't y'all know people don't want to read? We watching a video so that we don't have to read. All right, check this out then.
红色是表示你要专注力显示得很高，
Teachers at this primary school in China
蓝色是走神了，
know exactly when someone isn't paying attention.
白色就是你可能跟网络还没有连接好。
These headbands measure each student's level of concentration. The information is then directly sent to the teacher's computer and to parents.
Wow.
China has big plans to become a global leader in artificial intelligence. It has enabled a cashless economy where people make purchases with their faces. A giant network of surveillance cameras with facial recognition helps police monitor citizens. Meanwhile, some schools offer glimpses of what the future of high-tech education in the country might look like.
做出选择吧 ，Good job。
Classrooms have robots that analyze students' health and engagement levels. Students wear uniforms with chips that track their locations.
Hey, hold on. Pause. Let me say this, and I gotta go to my actual chilling box to say this. Cut off the music. Check this out. Now I know I don't have 1 million followers or 1 million viewers right now, and I'm just a conduit or just spreading the message, all right, of a lot of this stuff. I'm not one to say it should go this way, it should go that way, you should do this, or you should do that. Sorry, I'm hearing the echo. I'm just like the newspaper, just, hey, there it is for you. I just typed in evaluating technology. The most vague, evaluating use of technology. The most vague thing I could. And we getting a nice little example of where technology is at right now in the form of your life. It ain't us over here in America, but it is somewhere happening in it. Just watch.
Of high-tech education in the country might look like.
做出选择吧 ，Good job。
Classrooms have robots that analyze students' health and engagement levels. Students wear uniforms with chips that track their locations. There are even surveillance cameras that monitor how often students check their phones or yawn.
What's up? Welcome to another episode of Expansion Pack. I'm your host, Dan F. Man. I was just listening to that episode from yesterday. That was intense. That was some good talk right there. Today, however, let me make sure I got my title, but I'm saying the right thing. Today, however, we are talking about our location. Of course, this is fine. Sorry, y'all. Find our way, or find your way Wednesday. So location would be important if you're trying to find your way right now. So let's get some motivation for our women out there, because you know it's Wednesday. Get some motivation for the ladies, for the women in our lives and in our world. Motivation for women. And it ain't just for women, it's for everybody, but still. Scroll down, so I don't get nothing. All right, let's go.
You have to be like water. Learn to be like water. Adaptable, fit into any vessel, have a sense of calm, have a sense of patience. But ambition is extremely important. And I don't just say this to girls, I say this to boys and girls. Just everyone who wants to be able to have a purpose in life, have an ambition, have the guts to find your glory. It's extremely important to have guts, to have conviction, to be able to say that, this is what I want and I want to achieve it. I learned it from the very, very strong people in my family that I looked up to, that showed me that it doesn't matter what your circumstances are, it matters how large your dreams are. And I have really large dreams. There's something about knowledge. There's something about if you learn, even if you don't know something, if you have an ambition to be somewhere, if you prepare yourself, you have the ability to be better than everyone else. I like to be prepared for everything. Even if it's an interview, even if I'm going for a red carpet, even if something is trivial to someone. Honesty is very important in relationships, whether it's with friends, whether it's with family, whether it's with your loved one, whether it's in a romantic relationship. I think being real to what you really are feeling is very important. And a lot of people don't have the guts to do that because we are always pretending to be a certain way so that we can maintain a relationship. But I think the healthiest relationships happen when you have the ability to call out someone and say, well, that's not right, or I don't feel a certain way and you're wrong or you're right, and to be able to talk about it. It takes taking that cloak of being careful about your emotions off, but that's very important. I really feel like you are defined by, every time you're defined by what you do next, not what you left behind.
Okay.
There's no point of doing the same thing over again. I try not to do the same thing over again. You have to take risks. Risks are so important in evolution. Playing it safe, yeah, you can have an existence, but you'll never be someone who's a trailblazer. My dad was extremely sensitive, but he was also like my biggest champion. The one thing that I learned from him was the hustle. He always taught me that don't be afraid of the failure. What you do next after failure is what will define you. Everyone fails. It's going to happen to you, it's going to happen to me, it's going to happen to everyone. Instead of sitting on your hands and saying, I can't do it again, find the courage inside of you and saying, what can I do differently? How do you look back into your mistake and say, all right, that was a mistake, great, not doing that again. That's something I really learned from my dad. My parents never wanted me to have a what if in my life. What if I had done it? What if I had tried that? So they always supported me. They said, no matter what you do, whatever mistake you make, have the confidence to come and tell us. Because, even if you kill someone, my dad, I remember him telling me this, even if you kill someone, come and tell me, I'll help you find the body. I'll help you bury the body, but then I'll take you to the cops too. So you'll always have to have courage of conviction. We spend our entire lives trying to figure out who we really are, and then we change. And then we figure it out, and then we change again. And I think that's the most constant, right? I'm constantly changing, constantly evolving, and I'm hoping that everyone's still curious about me as I keep doing that. I've had so many times whenever I'm doing interviews, people always ask me that, oh, you're doing a movie with, a female co-actor. Did you guys get along? Were there catfights? But when it comes to boys, they say, oh my gosh, that looks like a bromance and everyone got on so well. So I feel like over time, because women had the lack of opportunity, we were pitted against each other because there were only 5 opportunities, 5 places a woman could be hired. And so we were elbowing each other out to get to that one spot. So the crux of the problem is the lack of opportunity for females. And the more opportunity we create for each other, the more sisterhood will grow. We're 50% of the world's population.
Right.
We need to be represented in every
I wish y'all
field
was
like
great.
that. We need to be empowered
love
by
this.
each other, by the people who are in positions of power, by putting us in positions of power.
maybe two.
So I realized many, many years ago that the more I champion women,
Maybe if it was more y'all, I wouldn't be saying that. I don't know. But I still love y'all women.
in my own small way, maybe I'll be able to create a world around me at least where, women run the show, because we kind of do it really well. We just aren't given the opportunity enough,
Yes.
When I was very young, I started working when I was 17 years old. And I remember my mother telling me this really young, that women should be financially independent. It doesn't matter who your father is, it doesn't matter who your husband
I
is
agree
going to
with
be,
that.
it doesn't matter who your brother is, it doesn't matter who the man in your life is. You need to be responsible for your finances and be financially independent.
Nah, I agree with that. Because only thing they don't even take care of all the dogs on the planet, or the birds, or the men. But one thing I do believe is that you should have some form of independence outside of relationship. Women, y'all do y'all thing. Anyway, let's go. Let's get this location. What's that? How that song go? Something about location. That's the only one I can think of. Anyway, our location in time and space. Let's see what they talking about. Alright. Nothing vague. Nothing copywritten. This is good enough.
So I have a question from Drunk Hustler. How do you experience time? It's a good question that we have been exploring for a while. We have done studies on circadian rhythms and how the fact that we have really no natural light inside the modules other than the one that, only the lights that we turn on and off affects us. And obviously, if we were to look outside the window, we'd have 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets just about every 90 minutes for an orbit. So our impression is that from a very personal point of view, the impression is that days go by slowly because we have a lot of work, but then the weeks disappear very quickly. We have been here for the better part of 4 months, and it just feels like we arrived yesterday. But there are studies ongoing right now on the space station about the perception of time, and as a matter of fact, there is one is called time perception, and those studies will actually nail down to the detail exactly what happens to our time perception while we are in orbit.
Hey, that was cool just seeing them sitting there floating, for real. All right, let me get another one. Now, we just getting some base understanding right now on our location. PBS gonna hit you with it.
Today's episode is about space, time, and the nature of reality. My name is Gabe, and this time it really is space time. If you pay attention, this episode is going to blow your mind. So we're going to take it slow. What is space-time exactly? Before I can answer that, I need you to do something for me. Give up your intuitions about how time and space work. At first, your brain might resist and hold on to those intuitions for dear life. Don't worry, that's normal. This is challenging for everyone, even Einstein. Ready? Okay. Space-time refers to whatever external reality underlies our collective experiences.
Yes, y'all must be financially independent because it causes you so much trauma and stress and pain in your life as a woman if you're not financially independent. Now, as a man or as a child, you can speak to some of those same things. Yes, you can, just by not having your own financial situation, being able to control it. But as a woman, oh my gosh, y'all get asked different stuff. Y'all get told different stuff. You have to do different stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, back to the video. Pay attention to the space-time.
The space between things and the time between events. Why can't space and time just be reality? Why add space-time as an extra concept? Here's why. Suppose two observers are moving relative to each other, and particles count as observers. Fact. Those observers don't agree about how much time passes between events. Fact. They don't fully agree on how much space there is between things at any given moment. Fact. They don't even agree on the chronological order of all events. And yet, each agree on the chronological order of all events.
Right.
And yet, each observer measures things properly and is entirely consistent, which means neither of them is wrong.
Commercial, why they always do me like that?
Now that sounds absurd, but it's true. Plenty of other resources, some of which we link to in the description, discuss these discrepancies and the experimental evidence for them. For today, we'll just take them at face value and focus on what they imply about the nature of reality. Because if you think about it, some of the implications are staggering. Take this disagreement about sequence of events, for instance. It is severe.
Right.
If two observers can't agree on the sequence of events, it means that at present, someone's past is in someone else's future. Now, for nearby events, the effect is microscopic, but so what? Any disagreement means that there is no universal division of events into past, present, and future.
Just in case y'all are wondering what he's talking about or what we even talking about right here. We're just talking about the makeup of our reality when we look around. And right now, if you look at it at a very, very small level, events don't line up in a traditional straight line way. That's all he's saying. It's not like A, then B, then C. It could be C, B, A. Like this happened first, but it really happened last. Confusing, but just keep going.
Which opens major philosophical cans of worms for things like past, present, and future. Which opens major philosophical cans of worms for things like free will and our belief that we can change the future. So, is everyone's experience of the universe entirely subjective? Or, phrased another way, if time and space as we usually conceive of them aren't part of objective reality, then what is? Causality. Let me explain. A good starting point for objective reality is universal agreement. And, as luck would have it, all observers do agree about this thing. It's called the space-time interval, or space-time separation between two events. Even though two observers in relative motion will measure different distances and different elapsed times between the same two events, they always agree about the space-time interval between those events. Now, if everyone agrees about space-time intervals, they must signify something. But what? We'll notice that since it involves subtraction, a space-time interval can be positive, 0, or negative. When it's positive, nothing can get from one event to the other, and there are always observers who disagree about which one happens first. When it's 0 or negative, signals or things can get from one event to the other, and everyone agrees on their sequence. So, it appears that the space-time interval between events A and B tells you whether A can influence B.
Right, okay.
In other words, even though we can't agree about past, present, future, time, or distance, we all appear to agree about causality.
The force. You know, it got a lot of power. Don't stop till you get enough, you know. That's what they talking about, causality. It's just, what he's saying is that although it took you this long from my perception, and it took me this long from your perception, and I don't know how much space you had to cover because I'm not you. I couldn't feel that. We can agree upon the, what did he say?
Time or distance. We all appear to agree about causality.
There you go.
Now that may seem counterintuitive. Normally, we think that time is responsible for causality, but actually it's the other way around. To the extent that we agree about temporal anything, it's only because of causality. Causality is what's real.
Basically, all right. Basically, let me give it a better example, a great example. Sorry to keep pausing it. The wind blew and it moved a tree. Now, me and you may agree together that the tree moved. Cool, we got that. But how far it moved, you can say this, I can say that until we measure it, and then we still might not agree. How long did it take to move? I don't know. It moved a little faster for me. It took 3 seconds for you, 2 seconds, maybe 2 point, whatever. So those will be shaky. But from our viewpoint, unless there was a hand, unless there was an animal, unless there was some other cause, the wind, we can agree, caused that to happen.
So
And
what
that's
does causality have to do with space-time? As it turns out, everything. See, shortly after relativity first came out, a former math professor of Einstein's named Hermann Minkowski noticed that the space-time interval resembles a weird version of a distance formula in what's called a non-Euclidean space.
Let me see that again.
He resembles a weird version of a distance formula in what's called a non-Euclidean space. So he proposed the following radical idea. Maybe reality is not a 3-dimensional space that evolves in time. Instead, it's a 4-dimensional, non-Euclidean mathematical space that's just there.
Too many big words. Come on, break that down for me, man.
It's a 4-dimensional, non-Euclidean mathematical space that's just there. No evolution, no time. That 4D mathematical space is space-time. Its points correspond to events. All events, everywhere, ever. And in this view, only events,
perfect
mathematical
sense.
space, no evolution, dimensional, no.
Oh, wow, that just blew my mind. Hold on. I don't know if that happened to y'all too, but listen. What we're living in is not being shaped over the course of time. It's not. Like the tree outside is not getting taller with time. What is happening is it's just reaching a different point of space where it's taller. I'm not getting taller either. I'm just reaching a different point in space where I'm taller. What I mean is time, like the clock ticking, the clock ticking is not causing me to get taller. It's my continued progression through this space that's causing me to get taller. That's still confusing.
Space that the following radical idea. Maybe reality is not a 3-dimensional space that evolves in time. Instead, it's a 4-dimensional, non-Euclidean mathematical space that's just there. No evolution, no time.
So theoretically, that means, I'm sorry, y'all. Theoretically, from what he just said, just in case there's too many big words for everybody else, but I had broke him down. In case y'all missed it, what he's saying is you could visit yourself at an earlier date just by traveling through the space that we live in. You could literally go back and visit yourself at an earlier date, at a later date, because it all exists all at once.
That 4D mathematical space is space-time. Its points correspond to events. All events, everywhere, ever. And in this view, only things that correspond to geometric relations in that 4D space are objectively real. Like, for instance, causal relations. They correspond to space-time intervals, which are geometric relations, a non-Euclidean version of distances between points. In contrast, our experiences and measurements of time and space don't correspond to anything per se. They're more like the XY grid we use in math class. Useful for talking about the board, but arbitrary and inherently meaningless. The board, its points and geometric facts are simply there, whether we put axes on that board or not. So, are you objectively real? Well, kind of.
Yeah.
If you are the sequence of all events in which you're present, then you are a geometric object in space-time. A line segment.
Yeah, right.
Then you are a geometric object in space.
Hey, now wait. Just in case y'all think I just be like a madman out here just typing in titles and going about my day and trying to give y'all a little taste of something. I want y'all to know that this is proof that I'm not just on a tangent or on some ridiculous, rant. spitballing, like they be saying, like a nigga ain't got no intelligence in here to be able to put something together on the spot. Anyway, listen, just in case y'all think that is, this one video from me typing in whatever I typed in to get it, and from me taking our topic and our title, has given our proper, not like where you sitting at, not where you driving to, but our proper location. And remember, that's what we doing today on Find Your Way Wednesday. We getting our location. So I just had to break that down. I ain't a madman.
The sequence of all events in which you're present, then you're on that board or not. So are you objectively real? Well, kind of. If you are the sequence of all events in which you're present, then you are a geometric object in space-time, a line segment, joining the points representing the events of your birth and your death. Do you move along that line segment? No. You are the line segment. Right. There's no motion through space-time. It's not this kind of space. It's tenseless. And your future isn't merely predetermined, it already exists.
Oh my gosh. I gotta take a deep breath.
To express what space-time is without misleading you, but I think the following gets the flavor right. Imagine we're all reading a flip book made of graph paper. We agree on the events of the story, but we don't agree where they happen on the page, on how many pages there are between events, or even on the order of some of those events. And yet, we're all reading the same book. Only, there's no graph on the paper, there are no pages, and there is no book. All of that is just an imposition our brains make in order to perceive whatever it is. So why do we perceive reality in such a vividly spatial and temporal way? Good question. No one really knows. So have I told you all there is to know about space-time? No, far from it. All of this has just been a loose introduction to what's called flat spacetime.
Oh my gosh, why did he introduce that terminology right before commercial?
How's it going? We're getting there. I spoke to my friend.
Once general relativity enters the mix, we'll find that there are many possible spacetimes with different geometries, making it hard to ascertain which one this is. But we gotta crawl before we walk. We will get to that fun stuff eventually though, so subscribe. And as always, the comments are for your questions. I'll do my best to answer them at the next causally connected point of spacetime. Last week we asked whether NASA could start a zombie apocalypse. You guys, as usual, had a lot to say. Daniel Jenkins commented that a space-based zombie outbreak assumes that a more virulent organism would actually spread better. First of all, that assumption is unnecessary. It's enough for the bug to just be more harmful and harder to fight off with your space-depressed immune system. But second, as Nicholas Garrison pointed out, germs do spread more easily in space capsules.
All right, we done here for today with that. But I did save this video just in case y'all ever
including the fact
back
that the
and watch
gunk.
it. I haven't published the actual playlist of all of our expansion pack knowledge yet, but I will be doing that for everybody to be able to, you know, get a nice little compilation. Maybe you saw something on one of the videos that you want to revisit. Maybe you liked one of the hacks, whatever. I got it all compiled in a list or a playlist that you can go over to the DGTA channel and check out, coming soon. All right, now let's keep on tracking our location. GPS. Yep, there it is. I figured it would show us something. Let's look at this first. It's only 2 minutes.
Here's how to add a location in Google Maps. Now, if you're in Google Maps and it's missing a specific location, whether it's a restaurant, a business, your house, anything like that, I'm going to show you how to add it. Let's open up Google Maps here. And the first thing that you might want to do is just to zoom into where that specific location is. So let's say this random town that I'm zoomed in on, say here there is a missing location and you wanted to add it. I can always drop a pin here, and you can see now that I've dropped a pin, I can add it directly in my Google Maps just by going over and hitting add a label, and then you can label this as home or work or whatever you want it to be. Now keep in mind you're adding that location just for your Google Maps. Anyone else that searches for that will not be able to see it. To do that, let's just go back here and then hit the X. We're going to tap on the profile at the top right. And then now you have two different options. One is you can hit add a missing place at the very bottom here. I'm going to tap on it. Now, keep in mind, if you're here, it says add your business for free. Basically, the place details, the name, the category, the address. So we're going to enter in the name, the category on here. You want to enter it in, whether it is a school, a hospital, a restaurant, a cafe, a bar, whatever it is. You want to enter in that location category as well. And then the address, of course, you need to do that. You need to edit the map location. You can tap here and just kind of move this pinpoint around to get the exact same or the exact correct location. You can put located within, and then you can always put hours, phone numbers, contacts, photos, all of that stuff. So when you go through this entire process of adding this location, you'll hit submit at the bottom right. Google will review this and make sure everything looks okay. And then if it does, they will publish it so that everyone will be able to see it. Now, keep in mind, you do have another option. Let's hit the X button, discard, tap on your profile at the top right. And then you can also hit add your business. Basically what this does
How much more we got left?
Is it just...
So imagine you didn't know none of this, right? And you went on your GPS, and every time you went on your GPS, Daniel Jenkins, yeah. Every time you went on your GPS, it's full of all of these businesses and places, but you've never put any. Well, let's start filling that thing up so we can know where we at. Anyway, that's just a nice little tidbit of information to know that you can put your business on there, or at least put an application to your business on there, because Google Maps is just one version of the GPS actual technology that we use. All right, now here's the fun part. Let's go. How they tracking that? How they doing that anyway?
It's Pod's biggest sale in history.
It's a
Save
whole
up to
bunch of
30% on moving and storage until May 19th. And see why Pods is America's number...
Let's go.
Once upon a time, your ancestors used to look at the night sky to determine their location. Then we used a Thomas guide. Remember those? Today, it only takes one magical technology to get driving directions, send your picnic spot to a lost friend, or track how far you've gone during a workout. That technology is called GPS, and you're about to find out the secret behind it. GPS stands for Global Positioning System and was actually a military invention. Its first name was Navstar, and the first satellite was launched in 1978. But not all the Navstar satellites made it to orbit, so it was still a work in progress. GPS became fully functional in the US by 1995 and was first used in cars in 1996. The highest quality signals were only used for military purposes until May 2000, when it became available for all civilians for free. Today, GPS is managed by the US Air Force. Many modern receivers actually rely on both GPS and the Russian GLONASS satellites to make their accuracy perfect anywhere in the world. GPS doesn't need an internet connection or a phone signal to function properly, but with them, it becomes more effective. GPS is literally everywhere, and you can now even purchase GPS insoles to keep track of your kids or relatives with Alzheimer's disease.
That's right.
How does it work? Well, to put it simply, GPS is a system that has three basic parts: satellites, ground stations, and receivers. Satellites today are like the stars and constellations that our ancestors used to find out their location. They're supposed to be in a certain place at a certain time, and this is important. Ground stations use radars to find out if the satellites really are where they're supposed to be. A receiver in your phone or in your car is following signals from the satellites to determine how far it is from them. When it finds out how far you are from 4 or more GPS satellites, it can tell exactly where you are, with an accuracy within feet or even inches.
Like I said, a bunch of trajectories and geometries and all other ways to say trees. That's how
the GPS system has 32 active satellites orbiting the Earth. 24 of them are core satellites, and the rest serve as emergency replacements when something happens to the others. They need constant maintenance and sometimes repairs, but even with all that, they only last about 10 years. GPS works in any weather, rain or shine, but there is one important condition. A receiver on Earth has to see at least 4 satellites to calculate an accurate location, because the GPS uses a trilateration mechanism. Don't worry, folks, it sounds complicated. but I'll explain it in a second. 2D and 3D trilateration. So, 2D trilateration is about calculating its latitude and longitude position on a map. Imagine you went for a run, Forrest Gump style, left your home in, say, Wisconsin, and made your first stop after days of running. You know you're still in the US, but since GPS doesn't exist yet, you have no clue where exactly you are. So luckily, you run into a farmer and ask him. He doesn't answer directly, but gives you the first clue. You're 400 miles away from Boise, Idaho. Well, that's not really helpful because there are hundreds of places that fit that description. So you need more clues and ask another person. They kindly inform you that you're 780 miles from Fargo, North Dakota. If you put this information you have on paper and draw two circles, you see that they only intersect at certain points. And now you know you're in one of them. Still, that's not enough, and you find a friendly Girl Scout who tells you the final clue. You're 410 miles away from Salt Lake City, Utah. That's all you need to know. As you add the third circle to your drawing, you see only one intersection point. Bingo! All this data helped you figure out you're in Bozeman, Montana, which is a nice town. It's all pretty simple, right?
Hey, y'all better remember some of this stuff, man. It's survival stuff right here.
When it comes to 3D trilateration,
Okay, what's up?
it's basically the same, but there'll be spheres instead of circles on your drawing.
Hey, so wait, let me make a pause real quick because this is gonna be a good pause. So imagine all day we spend all day talking about who posted what on social media. We spend all day talking about who the president is. We spend all day talking about what we gonna wear tomorrow when we go out, what we cooking tonight, what the kids did and didn't do, what schools like, who did what made them mad. But how many times y'all talked about 3D trilateration? And if GPS was malfunctioning due to no Wi-Fi, how could we still find our way around? We ain't had too many conversations like that lately. I ain't had none. Go ahead, talk to me about 3D trilateration, my guy.
3D position includes your latitude, longitude, and altitude. If the radii from the previous example went in all directions, you have circles on your drawing. 3D position includes your latitude, longitude, and altitude. If the radii from the previous example went in all directions, you'd get a series of 3D spheres. So, if you know you're 15 miles away from a satellite A, then you're at some point inside an imaginary sphere that has a 15-mile radius. You're also positive you're 20 miles away from satellite B. When the two spheres overlap, you'll see a circle. Take the distance from the third satellite to build another sphere, and you'll get 2 points of intersection. Let's take the Earth itself for the fourth sphere, because you know you're on the ground, and only one of the two possible points is the one you need. The more satellites you use, the more accurate position you'll get. Doing the calculations.
Yep, that's what I
GPS
like to see.
satellites
That's what I
send
like to see.
information about their position and current time to a GPS receiver at certain intervals. The receiver gets the information in the form of a signal. The GPS receiver analyzes radio signals from the GPS satellites to figure out two important things: the location of at least 3 satellites in space above you, and the distance between you and those satellites. Radio waves travel at the speed of light. The receiver takes the time it took for the signal to travel from space to the Earth to calculate how far it's traveled. And it's not so simple. GPS satellites have atomic clocks that keep the most precise time, but it would be impossible to install these clocks in every receiver.
Right.
They cost somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000. So,
money.
It would make your phone really expensive. So receivers have regular quartz clocks in them that keep updating themselves to get the most precise time, thanks to the information they receive from satellites. The second complication is that time moves faster for objects that are far away from gravity, like Einstein's general theory of relativity. Satellites' atomic clocks get 38 microseconds ahead of ground clocks every day. If scientists did nothing about it, GPS locations would be off by 6 miles more every day. Using at least 4 and not 3 satellites helps to solve both of the problems and to determine the precise locations of objects. When you use just 3 satellites and 3 spheres, they'll intersect at some point, even if you got the wrong numbers. When you have 4 spheres, there's no chance you'll get the wrong measurements. One more thing. It's not only important to know how far the satellite is from the receiver, but where exactly the satellite is. This task isn't that hard, in fact, because satellites have predictable orbits. There's also a GPS almanac in the receiver that keeps track of where this or that satellite should be at any moment. The pull of the moon and the sun affect the orbits just a bit, but the Department of Defense takes care of that and sends updated information to all GPS receivers along with satellite signals.
Laughter has made the biggest difference in how I eat and how I stay on track with my goals. And there's a ton of options too. Keto-friendly, protein-packed.
GPS not only
We only got a
determines
little bit left on this, and I'm gonna bring it home for y'all.
the most accurate location of people and objects, but also sends time signals that are accurate within 10 billionths of a second. Whoa! You can only get more accurate time from the atomic clock, like the one in GPS satellites. Banking systems, power grids, and cellular networks all rely on GPS for operations, from synchronized call handoffs to accurately time-stamped transactions. And here's a bonus. Even though it's incredibly accurate and useful, sometimes GPS takes people to unexpected places, especially in rural areas. Ever get lost? Me too. It can be hard for it to tell an accurate road from a mud path.
Right.
And the consequences are pretty unpleasant for the driver and the passengers. A van driver from Switzerland, for example, once found himself on top of Mount Bergen. He was unable to go either back or forward, and so he had to call for help, and a heavy-lifting helicopter eventually saved him. He explained to his rescuers that GPS prompted him to get off the main road, and he couldn't ever get back even when he wanted to. 3 ladies in Bellevue, Washington didn't have time to wait for a helicopter, but had to leave their sinking Mercedes-Benz SUV behind. They were driving after midnight and couldn't see that the road GPS told them to take was actually a boat launch that took them directly into the lake. Another story took place in Australia, where 3 Japanese students were trying to get to North Stradbroke Island by car. Their GPS suggested a route that ignored one detail. There was water and mud separating the island from the continent that looked okay to them at low tide. They were rescued by a truck driver. Hey, technology is great when it works. So, do you use GPS services a lot?
All the time.
Or do you think you could survive without them? Let me know down in the comments.
All
If you
right.
learned something new today, then give this video a like and share it with a friend. But
All right, now let me bring this home for y'all. Because now you know how to find yourself physically and where you at physically. Now, let's just explore something. Let's explore something for fun. I heard of Eckhart Tolle.
I love you. So in talking about thinking, I know this has an obvious answer, and I'm actually asking beyond this. But where do our thoughts come from? You know, so oftentimes I'll have thoughts and I recognize them as even not my own, or possibly patterns that have existed for years and years. You know, jealousy thoughts or competitive thoughts or the thoughts of being threatened and fear. But truthfully, is this something is waking us up in the middle of the night that you were just talking about? What is that? Is it just part of the condition of being alive?
Thank you. The Buddha was asked a similar question I'll tell you what he said, but then I will answer it because he didn't.
Thank you.
Somebody asked him a question like that, and he gave a parable. He said, somebody shot you with an arrow, you've got an arrow stuck in your body, and before you remove it, you're trying to find out, where did that arrow come from? Before I remove it, I need to know who shot it and why and where
I get where he's going with this.
it came from. Let's examine this in more detail. And that was his answer. What he was saying was, our main concern should be to remove the arrow instead of trying to find out where it all started. How did it all start? Where did it all originate? That was, his teaching was very practical, totally practical. Not all of Buddhism is that practical anymore. Some of it still remains practical compared to other traditions. But in the very beginning of the Buddhist teaching was just totally practical. Remove the arrow. The arrow, of course, stands for suffering, any form of suffering that is self-generated through the mind. And, okay, so that was his answer. Now, of course, I agree with that, and I'm sure we all do. Thought, going a little bit beyond it, thought is, there's such a thing as the collective mind, and so many thoughts are not your thoughts, really. They arise in the collective mind. They are energy fields or energetic entities that one could almost think of them as little bubbles floating around. They may not be literally true. I haven't actually seen any bubbles, but little bubbles, thought forms floating around. And if the thought form discovers any resonance with anything inside you, for example, any form of negativity, and then there's a thought form in the collective mind, an even heavier thought form of negativity floating around. Just a slight irritation about what somebody said today. And then there's another thought form that resonates with that negativity, and then that bubble comes plop.
Right.
And before you know it, the irritation has become something bigger. So you connect with the universal mind, and it moves through you. So when we deal with our so-called our own minds, we're far more than our own minds, and whatever awareness arises in you is not just your benefit, it has an impact on the totality of the collective mind. When awareness arises in you, it means awareness is arising
everywhere
in the collective mind of humanity. So it's not just a personal thing. In the same way that any thinking that takes possession of your mind is not really personal. There is no personal thought as such. It pretends to be personal. It's the human collective mind.
Yes, sir.
In the same way, of course, any emotion generated by that is not
right.
It looks like my emotion, but it's either it's anger, or it's sadness, or it's jealousy, or it's whatever it is. And that's basically, it's the same in everybody when it arises. Right. It attaches itself to, and that's, or it's sadness, or it's jealousy, or it's whatever it is. And that's basically, it's the same in everybody when it arises. It attaches itself to slightly different stories in the mind of why I'm angry, but the anger is anger, human anger. So, again, it's not yours. It's, you pick it up, and then it gets hold of you, and then
it's like the dirt on your shoes. You take the shoes home, but you don't knock the dirt off.
Humans live virtually with a mind that has taken possession of them, pretends to be them, and they're stuck with it. without even knowing it. If they knew it, they would be the beginning of freedom.
Right.
They don't know it, and if you tell them they get angry, but they don't, the mind does, because it feels threatened. So there's still humans who won't hear this, they can't hear this, because immediately they would feel threatened by it, because they're totally possessed by the mind. You can see how, for example, certain collective thought forms can take possession of an entire country, such as happened, for example, during communism, Soviet communism in Russia, Maoism in China, millions of people all thinking the same thing. But even in our society, it's not necessarily one monolithic thought form such as that, but there are different thought forms through the media become perpetuated.
Right.
Our basic assumption are thought forms that come out of the collective, have taken possession of us, and they're all forms that consciousness takes in the mind. Mm-hmm. And that's all fine in itself. It's fine if there is an awareness
of it, right?
But if thought is all there is,
then
it becomes destructive and insane.
Yeah, because
without awareness.
Because the awareness is gonna be like the sifter, and it's gonna sift out all of that stuff. All right, boom, I don't need that, I don't need that, I don't need that. But it's gonna constantly be filling that basket to be sifted. It's always gonna be filled. So if you think you're just a basket, then you're going to be filled with thoughts about not having money, mad, disappointed. Every thought that you could think of is going to fill your basket. When you have that awareness to sift it out, you see how powerful that aspect of thinking, or the aspect of having a thought, is, because you could pull thoughts of rich and abundance and happiness and lovely weather and beautifulness and all of that into your awareness, as opposed to letting just the thing fill up and it's just sitting there and you're not sifting anything with your awareness.
So your next question, if you want to carry that, is why? How did it all start? Where does it come from? And that's the arrow again.
Right. Yeah, in fact, my friend Jen and I use the phrase, when you ask why, that is the lie.
Yeah.
Just the need
yes.
to let it go. But the thing that occurred when you shared your answer, thank you, is that the thinking isn't something I need to war against, but rather it's a tool.
Exactly.
And it's showing me where I'm allowing myself to identify with
instead of finding out where that arrow came from, and I need to trace it down, the trajectory, the angle, everything, just remove it, because that removes suffering. And once you remove the suffering from the arrow, which is your thoughts, so to speak, you start to enjoy them. You would put that awareness on it. You can even pull the ones that you want into, like going shopping. You know what I'm saying? Shopping in your mind of thoughts.
Something that I'm not,
yes.
and thus identify with being separate
yes.
from this one. So
yes.
It's a wonderful tool.
Yes.
That is ultimately powerless in the face of consciousness. Is that correct?
Yes,
yep.
If you are identified with thinking, you say powerless. Yes. Because
consciousness
you are not there. You are absent, virtually absent, or completely asleep when you're identified with thinking. So you're being run by patterns, or on the karmic collective patterns, mental patterns.
Right.
And so your true power comes as you wake up out of that.
That was beautiful.
Thanks, Eckhart.
Nice. All right, let me get I'm going to get a quick video on this. Where are we from? Just to have some fun, y'all. All right, let's go.
This is a follow-up to my previous video about the Milankovitch cycles. I got a lot of questions about that video, and I'm going to try to answer them. So where are we within the Milankovitch cycles? We're right here. Remember, there are 3 cycles. There's the tilt, the eccentricity, and the precession. First, let's look at tilt. 9,000 years ago, the Earth's tilt was very...
We'll do this. We'll cover this one on the next one. Hold on. Gift of the present. There we go. This is going to be better. Let me see.
Hi guys, I hope you...
Hold on. I know they got one. I guess not. Nope.
Is this a gift or a present? And
I guess
what's
I gotta
the
put
difference?
the last word in there. We only got like 3 minutes left, so I wanted to try to get y'all just something good to be able to bring it home of where we actually at. We only in now. We're now. So I got a couple places that I know about. There's sleep and there's now. And now could be interchangeable with present. And they are both locations to me. The present is a location, now is a location, and sleep is a location. Now we'll talk about sleep later, but let's talk about present and now.
Never enough time to do everything, but there's always enough time to do what's most important. This is a quote that we talk about a lot with our appreciation marketing workshops that we do. And today I want to just talk to you about the gift of the present moment. You know, it's so easy. Giving Tuesday was yesterday, and sometimes for some of us, it's easy to be able to just stroke a check and to be able to send it on out and actually make a difference. And it does. You know, organizations, they absolutely need funding. What's harder for people to do is actually show up and commit their time, commit their energy, and to be able to help out with a cause or help out with an event. But also during the holiday season, going to buy a Star Wars action hero or to buy a Barbie doll and to be able to give it as a gift. What's harder for a lot of people is to not only give the gift, but to actually slow down just a little bit and give the gift of the present moment. Help them actually open up the box, hop on the floor with them and play, and leave your phone in your pocket. So that's one thing I just want to challenge you to do during this holiday season, is to just slow down just a little bit. You know, and today, practice this. I challenge you that when you're out and about and you shake somebody's hand or you give somebody a hug, just look them in the eyes and just say that you appreciate them. Just take that little extra split second. It means a lot. So just want to have that gift of the present moment is the best gift that we can possibly give. And I just want to let you know that I'm personally guilty of this, and I have to be reminded of this every single day. So just remember, there's never enough time to do everything, but there's always enough time to do what's most important. Have a great day.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a great day, too. Let me leave this comment. Awesome video, sir. All right. So, we did a lot today. We covered a lot. I feel like we covered more than we usually do in the time span. I want to challenge you to consider those it really is three. I mean, really it's two, but it's three things that I said. I want to challenge you to consider the fact that the present moment we're living in now is your location. You cannot leave this location without some sort of frame of reference back to this location. For example, if you think about what you're going to do next, like, or what you got to do later, your frame of reference would be from this point, and then you're thinking about later. If you think about what you've done before, your frame of reference is this point that you're at right now and what you've done before. If you're gonna get up and move, your frame of reference is the point you're at now. So your location is always now. That is a proven fact. That's something that talking about it now, I can see so much more of how I can use that, but it's been a base in my life. You're at the location. You at your mama house, you may be at your friend house, in the room, whatever, but you're at the location of now. You can say it's a time, whatever, but we know time and space are linked. Come on, keep following me now. Also, sleep is a place. That's why they say you go to sleep. The reference I can give you, or the clue I can give you to soak up a little bit more out of that location, is that you spend time there. Like, you literally spend time there that you can't track unless you use some sort of device or technology here. You don't have a clock there that says, hey, dog, you've been here for 5 minutes or 3 minutes or however long. So it's a place that's separate from this place that you're at now, called now. All right, now I challenge you to take those philosophical things I just said and apply them. Apply them. See if you visit that place of now, what's there around you. It can give you so much more energy. It can give you more awareness. It can give you whatever you need at the moment, because you're always going to be at that place. Sorry to talk those things into you. Probably mind messed you up. But if you're willing to grow, and if you here watching this show, you finding your roots so you can grow and expand, ain't no problem. All right, y'all. I'm going to holler at y'all tomorrow. Healthy Mental Thursday. This is DGTA TV. I'm your host, Dan F. Man. Peace. We out.
Off the couch. I got to go leave the cave, kill something, and drag it home.
Oh, sorry, y'all.
You gotta
deep down that you.
It's personal. You gotta make it personal.
No matter what challenges I face, no matter what the statistics are, I will maintain unwavering faith that I can achieve the outcome that I want. And if I don't, I'll be at peace with it. That was my why. I'm willing to do everything in my power to fulfill my potential and become the best version of myself. It's an unwavering faith in possibility. That's it.
You gotta get fueled on the inside and say, now is my time.
And it's about you.
It's personal.
Yes.
It's about your core. It's about your mindset. What do you actually want?
How do you want all of your life to go?
I believe everything happens for a reason, but I think we get to choose the reason.
Yes,
and I decide my fate. Nothing that you want will manifest itself unless you aim for it. And you won't aim for it unless you know what it is. And you won't know what it is unless you ask yourself. And then you might say, well, why don't you ask yourself? And the answer is, well, maybe no one ever explained to you that you needed to, which is a crucial issue. And then maybe you don't also trust yourself. If you had the job or career track that would motivate you, just hypothetically, what might that look like?
This is dreams we're talking about. We're talking about dreams.
Yes, sir.
It's just really rigid. If you become the best, you have to almost become fanatical.
Yes, sir.
You know,
yes,
this is my life. This is all I live for. This is my air. This is everything.
Dreams require sacrifices. People don't want to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Following your dreams is a lonely, solitary, scary, dangerous pursuit. You can't wait for somebody to think you can do it.
And when you get to the point where all you want to do is be successful, as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. And I'm here to tell you, number one, that most of you say you want to be successful, but you don't want it bad. You just kind of want it. You don't want it badder than you want to party. You don't want it as much as you want to be cool. Most of you don't want success as much as you want to sleep.
Nobody knows but you. You can't get advice on what you should do with your life.
Right.
You take control of the circumstances. You take control of the outcome. You take control of your life.
It's in our hands. It's on